Alright, so the 2025-26 Champions League season is just 2 weeks away, and I have a feeling it's going to be one of the best seasons we've ever seen. Without wasting any time, let's get straight into some predictions. These are all the games that are happening on Matchday 1, which will take place on September 16th, 17th, and 18th. So, the first one I want to talk about is Athletic Club versus Arsenal. I feel like the English club will come away with a 2-1 win away from home. The next big one is Real Madrid and Marseille. I feel like the Spanish Giants come away with an easy 3-0 victory. Juventus Dortmund will also be a good one. I think it's going to end in a 1-1 draw. What else is a big one here? I guess Bayern Munich and Chelsea is probably the marquee matchup of that day, and I see that ending as a 3-2 win for Bayern. Ajax at home probably won't get off to the best start on the first match day, so they'll come away with a 3-0 loss to Inter. Liverpool Atletico will also be a good one. I think the English Giants come away with a 2-1 win there. Reigning champions PSG versus Atalanta is going to be one to watch, but I think PSG come away with an easy 4-1 win. Newcastle Barcelona is going to be a good one. I think Barcelona come away with a 2-0 win on the road. The biggest surprise here that I'm predicting is Manchester City Napoli. I think Napoli's going to shock a lot of people this season, so a 2-2 draw is what I'm predicting for the first match day. Galatasaray Eintracht Frankfurt, the Turkish Giants come away with a 2-1 win. And to round off the day, Sporting CP come away with an easy 3-0 victory over Kairat, the debutants this season. So that's match day 1. Moving on to match day 2, these 18 games will be taking place on September 30th and October 1st. These are the 18 games on match day 2 here. So the first one is going to be the insane away day for Real Madrid in Kazakhstan versus Kairat Almaty, and I think they're going to come away with a dominant 5-0 victory. There's also Paphos FC versus Bayern Munich. I really don't see Bayern struggling in that game whatsoever, so I'm predicting a crazy 6-0 victory. Chelsea Benfica is going to be an interesting one to watch. I think Chelsea narrowly come away with a 2-1 win. Inter Milan Slavia Prague should be an easy walk in the park for the Italian Giants, so 4-1 win there. Liverpool go all the way to Turkey to come away with a crazy 3-0 victory over Galatasaray. That's going to be one to watch for sure. There's also Atletico Eintracht Frankfurt. I think Atletico squeeze away an easy 1-0 victory. Marseille Ajax should be pretty good too. I think Ajax dominate in the second half, come away with a 2-1 win. There's also Dortmund versus the Athletic Club. Dortmund come away with an easy 2-1 victory at home. The marquee matchup for this day is going to be Barcelona versus PSG. I see that game going 3-3 with 6 crazy goals throughout the game. AS Monaco Man City should be pretty straightforward for Man City, but I think Monaco will come away with 1 goal at least, so a 2-1 victory for the English side. The other match to talk about is Arsenal versus Olympiacos. I think Victor Gyökeres scores a hat-trick in that game, and Arsenal come away with a 3-1 victory. Villarreal Juventus, that should be a relatively modest match that ends in a 1-1 draw. And to end off the day, we have Napoli Sporting, with Napoli coming away with an easy 2-0 victory at home. So that's match day 2. Moving on to match day 3, these games will be taking place on October 21st and October 22nd. The first of the 18 games is Barcelona versus Olympiacos. I really don't see Barcelona having any issues here, so they come away with a 3-0 win. 2 of the debutants will be facing off in this match, with Kairat Almaty facing Paphos FC. This game could really go either way, but I'm giving Paphos the advantage here as they come away with a 2-1 win. Inter Milan versus Union Saint-Gilloise. I really don't see the Belgian side putting up much of a fight, so Inter come away with a 3-0 win. There's FC Copenhagen versus Dortmund. I think this will be one of the shocks of match day 3, with the Danish side coming away with a narrow 1-0 victory. Leverkusen PSG, I really don't think PSG will have any problems against Leverkusen, considering they just sacked their coach, so I'm giving PSG a 4-0 win there. One of the matches to look forward to is Arsenal versus Atletico. I think that's going to be a really close game, and Arsenal can only manage a 2-2 draw in that match. And then there's PSV Eindhoven versus Napoli. I think this is a match that a lot of people are sleeping on, but I predict a 7-goal thriller, with Napoli coming away with a narrow 4-3 victory. The next big match will be Bayern Munich versus Club Brugge. I really don't see Bayern struggling at home against the Belgian side, so they'll come away with a 4-1 victory. There's Chelsea versus Ajax. I think that game's going to be pretty close, and that's going to end in a 2-2 draw. Another marquee matchup on this day is going to be Real Madrid versus Juventus. I really see the Spanish side dominating in this match, so they come away with a 3-1 victory. There's Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Liverpool. I really don't see Frankfurt putting up too much of a fight, but since it's going to be Hugo Ekitike's return match, I see Liverpool coming away with a 2-1 win. One of the matches that I'm also looking forward to is Atalanta versus Slavia Prague. I think Atalanta come away with a 4-2 victory in a crazy 6-goal match. And then to round things off, there's Monaco versus Tottenham. I think Monaco will put up a fight, but Tottenham will somehow come away with 3 goals as they win the match by 3-2. So that's match day 3. Moving on to match day 4, these matches will be taking place on November 4th and November 5th. Starting off the list is Arsenal going away to Slavia Prague, and this match is going to end in a 3-1 victory for the visitors. There's also Napoli versus Eintracht Frankfurt. I think this game's going to be really close, ending in a 1-1 draw. The marquee matchup of this day is PSG taking on Bayern Munich. I see the French side coming away with a narrow 2-1 victory. And then there's also the marquee matchup between Liverpool and Real Madrid, which is going to end in a crazy 2-2 draw with both teams sharing 1 point. The next match to talk about is Sporting versus Juventus. I think the Portuguese side will hold their ground versus the Italian side, as that match ends in a 0-0 draw. Atletico versus Unión Saint-Gilloise will be much more of the same, with the Spanish side coming away with a 3-1 victory. The next big match to talk about will be Karabakh versus Chelsea. I see the English side going to Azerbaijan and coming away with a 5-1 victory. There's also Inter Milan versus Kairat Almaty. I really don't see the Kazakh side putting up much of a fight, as the Italian Giants come away with a 4-0 victory. The other marquee matchup is Manchester City versus Dortmund. I think the English side come away with a 3-1 victory here. There's also Club Brugge versus Barcelona, which I don't think much is going to happen in that match. I think Barcelona squeeze away a 2-0 victory. And the only other match to talk about is Ajax versus Galatasaray. I think this is going to be a really good match for neutral fans, which is going to end in a 2-2 draw. So that's match day 4. Moving on to match day 5, these games will be taking place on November 25th and November 26th. The first match on the list is Ajax versus Benfica. I think Ajax squeeze away a 2-0 victory at home. There's also Galatasaray versus Unión Saint-Gilloise. I think the Turkish Giants come away with a 3-1 victory. The marquee matchup of match day 5 and the game that I'm most looking forward to is Chelsea versus Barcelona. I think Barcelona come away with a crazy 3-2 victory in this match. Then we have Manchester City versus Leverkusen. I really don't see Manchester City losing this match in any way, so they come away with a 4-2 victory. There's also Bodo Glimt versus Juventus, the Italian side having to do a grueling away day to the Arctic Circle, but they'll manage a 1-0 victory against the Norwegian champions. There's Napoli versus Karabakh. I think they're going to dominate the Azeri side at home and come away with a 4-1 victory in that match. And then the other marquee matchup of match day 5 is Arsenal versus Bayern Munich. I think that's going to be a crazy 5-goal game, with Bayern Munich coming away with the win on the road. There's also Olympiacos versus Real Madrid, but I really don't see Olympiacos putting up any fight in that game, so Real Madrid comes away with a 4-0 victory. Atletico versus Inter should be a good one, so that's going to end in a 1-1 draw in my opinion. Liverpool PSV could also be good. I see that match ending as a 2-1 win for Liverpool. PSG versus Tottenham, we have a rematch of the Super Cup final, but PSG is going to win by a more dominant fashion this time, as they come away with a 3-1 win. Eintracht Frankfurt versus Atalanta, that could really go either way, but I'm giving them a 2-2 draw in that match. And to round things off, Sporting versus Club Brugge probably won't be very interesting, so I'm giving that match a 0-0 draw as my prediction. So that's match day 5. Moving on to match day 6, these games will be taking place on December 9th and December 10th. So the first match here is Kairat Almaty versus Olympiacos. I don't know why, but I have a feeling that Kairat's going to score 2 goals in this game, and it's going to end as a 2-2 draw. There's also Bayern Munich versus Sporting. I really don't think Sporting's going to put up much of a fight against Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena, so that ends as a 3-0 victory for Bayern. Atalanta versus Chelsea should be interesting, but I'm going to give Chelsea the advantage as they come away with a 2-1 win. Inter Milan versus Liverpool is one of the marquee matchups of matchday 6, but that's going to end with a shocking 3-1 victory for Liverpool away. Barcelona Eintracht Frankfurt should be pretty straightforward for the Spanish Giants. They come away with a 3-0 victory. And then there's AS Monaco versus Galatasaray. I have a feeling that Galatasaray is just going to score a bunch of goals in this match and come away with a 3-0 victory. And then there's the match that everyone could have predicted before the draw, which is Real Madrid versus Manchester City, which happens every single year. But this year, I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw with both teams sharing 1 point. And then there's Athletic Club versus PSG. I have a feeling that PSG is going to steamroll Athletic Club, and that match is going to end as a 3-1 victory for the French side. Leverkusen Newcastle could be interesting, and I'm going to give Leverkusen the advantage here, coming away with a 2-1 victory. Club Brugge versus Arsenal, it should be pretty straightforward for the English side, coming away with a 3-1 win. Benfica Napoli should be pretty interesting, but Napoli's going to come away with a 2-1 win on the road. And to finish things off, there's Juventus versus Paphos. I think Juventus come away with a pretty easy 4-1 win here. I don't really see Paphos putting up much of a fight. So that's match day 6. Moving on to match day 7 and the first matches that are going to be taking place in 2026. These games will be happening from January 20th to January 21st. The first match here is Kairat Almaty versus Club Brugge. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I have a feeling that Club Brugge is going to squeeze a 1-0 victory versus Kairat away from home. Then there's Bodo Glimt versus Manchester City. The English side have to do a grueling away trip to the Arctic Circle, but they're still going to manage a 4-0 victory over the home side. Real Madrid versus AS Monaco should be pretty straightforward, with Madrid coming away with a 3-1 victory. Inter Milan versus Arsenal should be pretty interesting, and for some reason, I'm giving Arsenal a 2-1 victory against Inter Milan here. Tottenham versus Dortmund should be pretty good. That match is going to end as a 2-2 draw. Then there's Sporting versus PSG, with the French side coming away with a 2-0 victory. Olympiacos versus Leverkusen should be pretty balanced, but I think Leverkusen come away with a 2-1 win. FC Copenhagen versus Napoli should be pretty interesting. That match is going to end as a 2-2 draw. Galatasaray versus Atletico, I think is going to be really heated, but Atletico's only going to come away with a 1-0 win. Bayern Munich versus Union Saint-Gilloise should be pretty straightforward, but I'm predicting a crazy 8-goal game with Bayern winning 6-2. There's also Chelsea versus Paphos, which I'd be shocked if Paphos score a goal against Chelsea at home, so that match ends as a 5-0 win. Marseille versus Liverpool, I'm giving Liverpool the advantage here with them coming away with a 3-1 victory. Slavia Prague versus Barcelona also should be a walk in the park, Barcelona coming away with a 4-1 win. There's also Atalanta versus Athletic Club, which is going to be a really good game with the Spanish side coming away with a 3-2 victory. Then we have Juventus versus Benfica. I don't know why, but I don't see Juventus winning that match, so that match ends as a 1-1 draw for both teams. And to round things off is Newcastle versus PSV Eindhoven. I think Newcastle narrowly squeezed a 2-1 victory against the Dutch side. So that's match day 7. And then we get to match day 8 with all 18 games taking place at the same time, which will be happening on January 28th, and it's going to be complete chaos. The first match we have here is PSV versus Bayern Munich. I see the German side coming away with a 3-1 victory. Then we have Napoli versus Chelsea. That match is going to be a really close game, ending as a 2-2 draw. Then we have Benfica versus Real Madrid. I don't think Madrid's going to have much of a problem there, so they come away with a 3-0 win. Dortmund versus Inter is going to be a marquee matchup on the final match day, and I see the Italian side squeezing away a 2-1 victory. Liverpool versus Karabag should be pretty straightforward, with Liverpool coming away with a 4-1 win. Barcelona versus Copenhagen, for some reason I think it's going to be close on the final match day, so Barcelona only come away with a 2-1 victory there. Manchester City versus Galatasaray, the Leroy Sané rematch, I think is going to be sick, with Manchester City coming away with a 3-2 victory at home. Leverkusen via Real could go either way, but I'm giving Leverkusen the slight advantage here with a 1-0 win. Then we have Arsenal versus Kairat Almaty. That should be a pretty straightforward match for Arsenal, coming away with a 4-1 victory. Union Saint-Gilloise versus Atalanta will be pretty close in my opinion, so I see that ending as a 1-1 draw. Then we have Club Brugge versus Marseille, which for some reason I don't think anything's going to happen in that match, so that match ends as a 0-0 draw there. I think Tottenham's going to be in a position where they need to win this match, but they won't as they lose 2-1 to Frankfurt in this game. Then we have Monaco versus Juventus. I don't really see much happening here, so Juventus comes away with a 1-0 win. Atletico versus Bodo Glimt is going to be surprisingly close on the final match day, so Atletico come away with a 3-2 victory there. Athletic Club versus Sporting, again, I don't see much happening there, so I'm going to give them a 1-1 draw. Ajax versus Olympiacos, I think Ajax comes away with a crucial victory on the final match day as they win 2-0. PSG versus Newcastle, I don't see PSG having many problems there, so that's a 3-1 victory for them. And to round out the final match day and the final game of the league phase, we have Paphos versus Slavia Prague, and Paphos come away with a shocking 1-0 victory on the final match day. So that's match day 8, and that's all match days in the books, so let's see how the league phase table looks like. So we have the league phase table here, and this is how it's looking. Reigning champions PSG top the league phase table with 7 wins, 1 draw, and 0 losses, putting up 22 points and a plus 16 goal differential. FC Barcelona follows them right behind with also 7 wins, 1 draw, and 0 losses, also on 22 points, but only plus 15 goal differential. And Liverpool round out the last few teams that go undefeated with 7 wins, 1 draw, and a plus 13 goal differential. Then we have Bayern Munich on 21 points. I think they only lose 1 match. And then there's Real Madrid who are on 20 points. They go undefeated, but they only get 6 wins and 2 draws. Manchester City kind of have the same fate as they also have 6 wins and 2 draws, but they only got plus 12 goal differential on 20 points. Arsenal come away with 6 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss with a plus 10 goal differential and 19 points. And to round out the top 8, the surprise side is AFC Ajax, who come away with 5 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss with a plus 4 goal differential but 17 points. So that's the top 8, and now moving on to the playoff spots. The first one on the list is Inter Milan. They come away with 5 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses with 16 points. Napoli follow them right behind with 4 wins, 4 draws, and 0 losses with 16 points and a plus 7 goal differential. Atletico Madrid finish in 11th place with 4 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss on 15 points. Chelsea follow them right behind with 4 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses with 14 points. Tottenham are also somehow in the mix with 4 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses on 14 points. Then we have Juventus in 14th place with 3 wins, 4 draws, and 1 loss on 13 points, and Galatasaray following them pretty similarly with 4 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses on 13 points. Then we have FC Copenhagen who somehow sneak in here with 3 wins, 3 draws, and 2 losses. They only score 8 goals, but they only concede 8 goals, so they finish with a plus 0 goal differential on 12 points. Then we have Atalanta in 17th place with 3 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses on 11 points. PSV Eindhoven follow them pretty closely with 3 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses on 10 points. Athletic Club are also in the mix in 19th place with 3 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses on 10 points. Bayer Leverkusen somehow sneak into 20th spot with 3 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses on 10 points. Borussia Dortmund have a shocking league phase campaign, coming away with only 2 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses on 9 points. Newcastle United finished in 22nd place with 2 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses on 9 points. Sporting CP have a pretty similar fate with 2 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses on 9 points. And the last team to make up the last playoff spot is SL Benfica, who come away with 2 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses, but somehow managed to get 8 points on a -3 goal differential. And now we make it to the 12 teams who will be progressing in Europe this season, with Eintracht Frankfurt finishing with 8 points. Pafos FC do pretty well in their debut season as they also get 8 points from 2 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses. Bodo Glimt have a pretty rough time as well, coming away with just 2 wins, 1 draw, and 5 losses on 7 points. Villarreal have a pretty disappointing campaign as they only get 1 win and they only finish with 6 points. Club Brugge also have the similar fate as they only get 1 win, but they finish on 5 points instead. Debutants Union Saint-Gilloise won't go very far either as they only grab 1 win and finish with 5 points. Debutants Union Saint-Gilloise won't go very far as they only get 1 win and 5 points. AS Monaco I'm predicting to have a pretty shocking campaign as well with only 1 win and 4 points. Then we have Marseille in 32nd who get no wins but they finish with 2 draws and finish with 2 points. Olympiacos won't do very well either, grabbing 0 wins, 2 draws, and 2 points. Then we have Kairat Almaty, the debutants from Kazakhstan, who somehow managed to get 1 point from 1 draw and 7 losses with a -18 goal differential. Then we have Slavia Prague in 35th place. They're going to lose all 8 games and finish with 0 points on a -14 goal differential. And to round things off, we have Karabag FK in 36th place, who also come away with 0 wins, 0 draws, and 8 losses, putting up 0 points on a -17 goal differential. So those are my predictions for the 2025-26 Champions League phase campaign, with PSG topping the league phase table in first place with 22 points, and Karabag FK finishing in last place with 0 points. Obviously, with the new league phase format, it's a lot harder to make predictions because you never really know how the league phase table is going to move around, especially on the final match day when all 36 teams are playing against one another. But I'm sticking to my predictions for now, and I guess in 4 months time we'll be able to see how they turned out. But what did you think of my Champions League phase predictions? Are there any predictions that you agree with, disagree with, or you think are completely out of this world? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more football content, tier lists, and everything in between, and as always, I'll catch you next time.